We have some major breaking news around the NHL. It appears as though the Arizona Coyotes may be for sale with the intent on moving them to Houston. We'll discuss this breaking story coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have some pretty significant news around the Arizona Coyotes possibly being on the move. Now, just a quick backstory here. Of course, we know the Arizona Coyotes relocated to the desert a long time ago. They're formerly the Winnipeg Jets 1.0, I guess we could call them. Now, the Winnipeg got their team back a number of years later, but really their entire time in Arizona has not been overly great. When they were down in Phoenix, more so, they were having a little bit more success and did do a little bit better, but the whole time in Glendale, really especially, has not been good. Now, we also know that the current situation with their arena, that the city of Glendale basically has ended that lease and they cannot play there beyond the current season. So as of next season, which isn't really all that far away, the Arizona Coyotes need to find a new home, a new place to play. Now, could they maybe go back and barter to extend one more year? I guess it's possible, but it's probably unlikely. At least that's the way things appear right now. Now, the other piece of this that's important as well is that current owner Alex Muriel had placed a bid to get a new arena built in Tempe, Arizona. This was supposed to be around a 16,000 seat venue. It was going to hopefully be the answer to their issues, having a long-term arena solution to remain in the state of Arizona. But of course, as we've talked about before, it was still possible, and I say possible because we don't know, because there's so many X factors here, that even if that works out, that's going to take a long time to go through the bidding phase, and if it's successful, the building phase. We're probably looking at about 3 years, maybe even a little bit more, before the arena would be ready to go. I mean, it's likely going to be, I think, probably close to a year's time, just going through the whole bidding section, and then another couple years to have the place built. I mean, look how long it's taken recent new NHL arenas to go through the full construction phase, like the one in Seattle. Of course, you get UBS Arena with the Islanders. Like, it's not a quick process. So at the very least, they need to figure out a new temporary home, and there are some, potential solutions to keep them in Arizona, possibly during that time frame. We've also talked about the possibility of them even leaving Arizona temporarily and then come back when their arena was made. Now, today's reports takes us in a whole new direction, and these sources are legitimate sources with great reputation. So the information I first seen, and I'll show you the information here from Twitter, started with TSN and Forbes legal analyst Eric Macramella, citing his Forbes colleague Mike Azania, who has banking sources citing that the Coyotes are indeed for sale again, with the idea of the buyer eventually moving the team to a new arena in Houston. So Eric Macramella is a legal consultant, like I said, with TSN and Forbes. Very good reputation, good source, and of course, his Forbes colleague, also very reputable source. So we have every reason to take this information very seriously. Now, will it happen? We can't say that with certainty. I don't want Arizona Coyote fans or people in the state of Arizona suggesting that we're attacking a team, that we want to see the move. That's not the case at all here. We're just strictly reporting on the news. Personally, I would feel really bad for Coyotes fans if the team leaves. But at the end of the day, it's what it's going to be. That you're not the only franchise that have gone through this, and it probably won't be the last, unfortunately. Now, what would be attractive about Houston? Now, of course, keep in mind, Houston is the fourth largest city in the United States in terms of population. They have a history of hockey in the city of Houston from the past, where the Houston Aeros previously played in the WHA back in the 70s from 72 to 78. And of course, more recently, as an AHL affiliate team from 1994 to 2013. And during the last 10 years of that stretch from 03 to 13, they played in the current arena there, the Toyota Center, which of course is owned by billionaire owner Tillman Fertitta, who owns the Houston Rockets and could potentially be the new owner if the team did get sold and move to that location. Of course, Fertitta has been long mentioned in the NHL news cycle about a potential future owner of an NHL franchise. There's been well-documented cases of him having meetings with Bettman and the NHL in the past. Back in 2019, in a radio interview, he even said on the record that rarely does time go by, like pretty much every month, that they talk about the possibilities of the NHL being in Houston and having a team there. So it's something that he and his people are extremely interested in. They're always looking to put more dates in that arena, make more money, make it successful. And I believe for every reason that they could certainly accomplish that. Now, currently the Toyota Center, like I said, houses the NBA's Houston Rockets, and that arena could very well be easily modified to house an arena of about 17,800 approximately would be the capacity for NHL hockey. So that would be more than capable of being a proper size arena that would get approval from the league. No problem. So there's lots to like about Houston. You've already got a billionaire owner with interest. You have an existing arena that could be modified to make everything work, so you wouldn't need as long a period of time to make it ready. And the other big thing here is the Arizona Coyotes, of course, this year moved to the Central Division. How convenient would it be if they had to move? Don't you think Houston would be the number one top priority preference by the NHL? Of course they would. Not to mention, like I said, all the reasons I just listed as being an attractive option, but they're already central. Like, it's perfect. I mean, as much as we've heard recent news articles about the province of Quebec and the city of Quebec City pushing to get a team back there as well, it just, as I said before, I'm not saying that'll never happen. I do think it's unlikely in the short term, though, for sure, because I just don't see a scenario unfolding where it's going to be easy and makes a lot of sense. But if the Coyotes did end up being sold or had to be moved, it only makes sense based on the current NHL alignment and everything that Houston would be the preferred location. They have the conferences for the first time in a long time, even with 16 teams in the East and 16 teams in the West. They're not going to want to disrupt that. I mean, they're going to want to stick with that if they possibly can. So giving everything that's attractive about Houston, that option would be explored hardcore before Quebec City would even be considered. That is just the facts. That's just the way it is. I'd love to see a team go to Quebec City as much as a lot of other people. I mean, to me, it would be a renewed rivalry between Quebec City and Montreal, which was a great rivalry that I remember when I was a kid watching hockey growing up. Obviously, Quebec City is not that far from where I live on the east coast of Canada, so it's a team that I could easily get watch the games and support. I'd love to see it happen, but at the same time, I'm going to be realistic here when I talk about the NHL and from a business perspective on what makes sense. And Houston would make much more sense in this scenario. So obviously, we know that the Coyotes have had their struggles. We know that this new arena is, it's a long ways away from having a result here, of like a decision, I should say. But the other thing that I found interesting about this all today as well is that after this news came out, within a short period of time, we've seen a lot of people jumping on the news cycle. Frank Saravalli of dailyfaceoff.com put out a quick article, and he has information that says that the proposal to build a 16,000 capacity venue in Tempe, Arizona is facing resistance right now because the development apparently would be too close to the Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport. Now, I don't know a lot about the geographical makeup of that area, so I can't really comment on that. But obviously, Frank Saravalli, again, a very well-respected hockey reporter with a lot of knowledge and inside knowledge, so we have to take what he's saying to be seriously and at face value here as well. So certainly, like, if they're getting into issues with this new arena, even though it hasn't been officially been deemed successful or unsuccessful, maybe the ownership there is coming to terms with the fact that maybe it's not going to work out. I mean, at the same time, because of the pandemic, we know that a lot of these owners, even though they're considered billionaires, they've had a tough financial hit, and you have to think that maybe there's other things going on there as well. I mean, the Coyotes, just in the past offseason were having issues making their lease payments to Gila River Arena. There was some complaints about players receiving signing bonuses late. To me, that team is not as financially secure as a lot of people want to let on. And even though, like I said, you have a billionaire owner, you can be a billionaire based on your net worth, your assets. It doesn't mean it's all liquid and accessible. Doesn't mean that they want to put the money into it. Obviously they got to be where they are from being a shrewd business person in the first place. And maybe they're starting to see, that it's time to move on. I don't really know. I mean, he hasn't been owner there all that long. Muriel's only owned the team for around 2 years, give or take a little bit there. So, I don't know. This, like I said, as far as how the team is doing in the financial side of it, that's just speculation based on what we've seen. But those are all factual things that have been documented within the media that are legitimate. So, will they move to Houston? We can't say that 100%. But this is some pretty credible information suggesting that it's getting more and more likely. And if this bid for Tempe does not work out, it would be the easiest transition if they have to leave the desert and leave the state of Arizona after all these years and failed attempts at really making the team much more successful. We also know as well that when it comes to the NHL franchises valuations and what all the teams are worth, we just saw the Penguins be sold for around $900 million. Look at what the Seattle Kraken just paid to become a franchise, the 32nd franchise, which was well over $600 million. I think it was $600 or $650 they had to pay. The Arizona Coyotes are at the very bottom, the 32nd ranked franchise when it comes to evaluations on what they're worth. So that's certainly an opportunity for a new owner to buy low and to, just like when you get into the stock market, you want to buy low and let it grow, and then get your return on your investment later. So we'll see where this goes, but it's certainly some very interesting, credible breaking news, in my opinion, that I want to bring you here to talk about today. So let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think the team will be sold? Do you think the Coyotes will eventually end up in Houston? And a question, too, that I'd like to see everybody comment on is if they do move to Houston, probably doesn't make sense to keep the Coyotes name as the team name. What do you think would make sense for the team name to change to when they were to move? Should they go back to the Houston Aeros? Could they come up with something completely different? It would also create, another team in the great state of Texas. Obviously, they have a very successful franchise there with the Dallas Stars, so they would have an instant interstate rival there in that regard too, being the same division in the Central. To me, I think it would be highly successful. Just a matter of letting it happen or not. So big question marks here. So we'll see where it goes. Let me know your thoughts, and we'll discuss further in the comments. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.